It is the top of the hour and we are good to go. So, hi everybody. Glad you're with us today, and I have a special treat for you. Those of you that I have not met yet, I'm Jackee Schwartz, owner of Planet Einstein Digital Learning Lab. And today our guest is going to be Stephanie Fager, who's already on with us. I'm going to tell you a real quick story about how Stephanie and I met and why she's here with us today. In addition to being a really cool person, there was a conversation that we had. I have just one piece of information for you before we do get started with Stephanie's awesome conversation with you today. And that is that my course is now officially launching. Those of you who want to up your game and learn how to do your own marketing, and digital marketing and social media are your thing, but you don't know how to do it yet. So go on the link, and actually I have two links on there for you today. One is to Stephanie's site. So after she talks with you today, go visit her site. And the other site takes you to the page that gives all the information about my upcoming course called The Game of Digital Marketing. So let's get started with Stephanie. I'm excited she's here today, and thanks, Stephanie, for being here.
Absolutely.
We met not very long ago, and I feel like I've known Stephanie for ages now. It just clicked with us. We met at a networking event, and I went up to her table, and just immediately we started having a really meaningful conversation, and we decided, let's plan another meeting to get to know each other better. And that's what we did. And that meeting was a couple of hours long, and I got to hear a part of Stephanie's story and she a part of my story, because you can only cover so much in a couple of hours. So one of the things she said to me was, I asked her if she would take a look at my course. Stephanie is an incredible author, but more importantly, she's one of the smartest young women I have ever encountered. And I knew immediately, this woman is going places. So I'll finish my story and after Stephanie shares with you a little more about what the wants and needs story was all about. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Stephanie. So welcome.
Thank you. And you're going to get me all teary before I even start. You're so sweet. And I really appreciate your kind words. And the feeling is mutual. I was really excited about our opportunity to meet. And I'm excited to share with your audience more information about something that I learned a long time ago when my husband and I were had just got married. So before I share that, I like to kind of tell you a little bit more about me, and then I'll dive in deeper. So you mentioned that I'm an author, and I am. Actually, I come from 15 plus years of PR and marketing experience that I did for nonprofits and agency work, and felt this calling within that maybe I need to do something different. Isn't that how most of us entrepreneurs work? We get to a point where we're like, yeah, maybe I'm supposed to shift a little bit. And I think that's okay. I think that's a beautiful thing. And so in that process, I started to feel called to write. And I wrote a lot. I did a lot of writing in silence behind closed doors and didn't tell anybody about it. And in a very serendipitous way, the world became known of my book, and it turned into finding the right people to help make the right things happen. And I think many times the right people come across our plates and come across our paths all the time, and we sometimes just neglect it, or we don't have our eyes open yet. So I think that they're there helping you in your journey as you're building your business as well. But I wrote a book, and I was ready to try something new, and I was ready to jump down a different path, and I was ready to do public speaking and do all of the things associated with this new message that had nothing to do with marketing. But I was required to do a marketing plan by my business coach. So I pulled together a marketing plan and I sat at a coffee shop, kind of like I'm at right now, and I shared it really quickly. And when I got off the phone, I got a phone call from my book coach and then my publisher and said, "Hey, Stephanie, how long did that take you to do that marketing plan?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I really didn't spend a lot of time on it. It was probably like 20, 30 minutes. And they're like, "Are you kidding me?" I know, right? "Are you kidding me?" Our authors, and there's so many other people who would love this knowledge. And it hit me at that point. The things that we take for granted in our skill sets and the things that we know and we love and we're really strong at, other people may not have that same skill set. Right. So it opened a whole new conversation for me. And it made me realize that maybe there was a blend in these different worlds that I was doing, the world of PR and marketing, blending with growing a business and writing a book. Interestingly enough, my book came out, and I started to realize that the only way that my book was going to be successful is if I invested my energy into making sure that the right people found out about the book in the right time in their life and a message that could really impact them. That takes me back to a story that I need to share.
First, do you have a copy of the book there with you?
Hold on, I do. Okay, this is a funny story. I carry a copy of my book with me everywhere, and it's the proof copy of my book. My book's called Colored Today Pretty, an inspirational guide to living a life in perspective. But it says proof on the back. And I laugh at that because it's like proof that I did it. But better than that, I actually wrote a little thing to myself about 6 months ago. I sign it for so many other people. Why don't I sign it for myself saying, "Hey, you did it. You did it." So yeah, Colored Today Pretty is what literally changed everything for me. That said, I started to realize, okay, I've spent a lot of energy and a lot of investment in getting this book out. I've got this product that people need to know about. It's life-changing. But how do I make sure that the right people, and maybe you're a landscaper and you hear the landscaping in the background too, but the right people find out about this at the right time. And that took me back to a conversation that I had with my husband the first time that we went grocery shopping after we got married. Now, I go way back when I graduated college and I had this wonderful degree and I was ready to start making great money, and I was offered a job making pennies, right? And I remember telling my dad and sitting down with him saying, "Dad, I want to live on my own, but I don't know how to make ends meet." And he said, "All right, that's okay. Let's create a budget." And so we sat down and we created a budget together. And my budget ended up, I hope that's not as annoying as it is here. So
no, can't hear it.
Fantastic. So I ended up creating a budget that allowed me to just live with every paycheck to paycheck. Well, to do that, I had $70 a month to spend on food. I know, I'll let that sink in for a minute. And that was many years ago. But as a vegetarian and as someone who was not as health conscious back then, I could live off of $70 and ramen noodle soup and boxed pasta. Okay. So I did. And I remember I lived on my own for many years before my husband and I got married. And when we got married, we go to the grocery together, and all of a sudden he starts picking stuff off the sides of as we're going down the aisle and throwing stuff in the cart. And I looked at him and I was like, "I'm sorry, but this is a teachable moment. I need to stop right now." I hope we don't have our first fight, right? But we need to stop and we need to have a conversation. And so we did. So we stopped right there in the middle of the grocery store. And I looked at him. I said, "That box of brownies you just put in. Now, I know when you're having a bad day, a box of brownies is like critical to your life. But the reality is this a want or is this a need? Do we really need the box of brownies, or is it just a nice to have if life goes, if we need it to make it through the week?" And he looked at me like, "Who did I marry? You're crazy." And I would not leave until I said, "Is this a want or a need?" He's like, "You know what? The brownies are really important to me." I said, "Great. We can get the brownies at the expense of something else." And he looked at me and I was like, "So do you want to live on water this week or do you want milk?" And I said, "So you got to understand that everything in life is a give or take." fast forward to now, that story legitimately is like the cornerstone of our marriage and how we've survived 10 years together thus far, of acknowledging that it's not about the money, but it's about how you use your money. And it shifted everything and how I looked at really every aspect of my life. You know, do I need that Starbucks coffee? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I need that caffeine, but other days, maybe I need to spend my money a little bit differently. And it helped me give a whole different perspective on how people spend their money. There's actually two buckets, I believe, and where people put their money. They put it in the things that they need. And I know that because I remember living on a budget in that specific way. And then there's, oh, well, you know, if I have a little extra money left, I'll buy some of the stuff I want. Well, the beautiful thing is if, as a business owner, if the product that you have falls into a need category, great. Most people have already budgeted for that, right? You know, if people realize the need to be healthy and they want to exercise and eat right and all that stuff, and you happen to be a health coach, guess what? You might be blessed and extra lucky because that's something they're already focusing on as a critical element of your life. But for me, as an author of a book about how to find perspective, most people sit down and go, oh, that's a nice to have. I'd like that on a beach when my toes are within the sand. That'd be great. No, as a business, I don't want to be a need. I don't want to be a want. I want to be a need.
Right.
Because the wants they'll forget about me. Mm-hmm. So as I wrote that marketing plan for my book, I went back to that crazy time at the grocery with my husband, and I continue to go back to that as I talk to clients, other authors, other business owners, and entrepreneurs. And I try to really, really encourage people to pause and take a look at the product that they're offering, whether that's a service or a specific.
And that was how you helped me, Stephanie, when I asked her, and this is where my contribution in this story comes in, I asked her to take a look at my sales page for the course. Mm-hmm. And she said, Jackee, I think you need to focus more on the needs that small business owners have. Do they need to have customers? Well, if they don't need customers, then they probably don't need to take my course.
Absolutely.
So I rewrote, I don't know if I shared this with you.
No.
Stephanie. I rewrote my whole sales page based on your advice.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
And it was a huge difference in terms of how it felt. Mm-hmm. And very frankly, I don't know of many, if there are any businesses out there who don't need customers, but there might be some. But if they don't need customers, then my course is not the one for them. But if they do need customers, and the same for you. So it was a great learning experience, a teaching moment.
A teachable moment. I love that because the reality is that most of us as business owners jump into this entrepreneurial world because there's something out there that we love. We're passionate about. We care about something. But if we only focus our business on what we care about, the likelihood is it will fall flat. And I hate to say that. It will fall flat and it won't grow legs. I think you need a mixture of this passion because let's be honest, it requires lots of hours and lots of tears and lots of persistence. You need that passion, but you need to marry it with your ability to be flexible and understand your target audience. If you don't know who needs your stuff, then you'll never reach them. And let's be honest, I hate to say this, any of y'all listening, I hate to tell you this, but if you focus on everybody, sure, my book could make a difference in the life of everybody. But if I focused on everybody, I'm going to reach nobody. So instead, I shift my mindset. Who is it that needs this? Who is it that needs your product? And if you can figure that out, then you can direct them and reach them in a way that they've already allocated resources for. I want to give you two examples. And the first one is about my book specific. So again, I'm highly hyper aware that my book is a nice to have to most people's lives. It is. I know this. So, but I also know that mindset changes are critical to be successful in lots of other different ways. So my book is about how to shift your mindset. And I actually did a really, really awesome partnership with a health and wellness coach that was offering nutrition and exercise education to her clients. She already had a great list of people who supported her. And I got to thinking that a lot of my people that follow me, if they change their mindsets, it becomes a body, mind, soul experience. So we created a program together where she focused on nutrition and physical health. I focused on mental health and mindset shifts. And in that month, my book hit on the top 5 bestsellers for my publishing company. It was phenomenal. And it wasn't, I mean, it wasn't manipulating anybody. It wasn't pressuring them. It was quite frankly meeting a need of a group of people that had already allocated income on something in that capacity.
What a great story. Yeah.
It was game changer. I'll give you another quick example, and then open up to if there's any questions, or if Jackee, you have any thoughts. But there's another example. So when I decided to publish my book, I wanted to do so in a way that that there would be no financial strain on my family. We probably could have afforded the whole process and journey, but something within told me I needed to do something different. So that year, it was around Christmas time, and I decided to make a wreath for my brother-in-law and sister-in-law for their Christmas gift. Now, it's really important to share. I've never made a wreath before. So the fact that I was like, oh, I'm going to make a wreath, this will be great. My husband was like, why did you pick that? I don't know. So I did what I got on YouTube, and I learned how to make a wreath. And it was really cool. And so I did what anybody who was proud of what they did would do. I posted a picture of it on Facebook, really inconspicuous. So no one knew whose gift it was. Within a couple of days, I had someone reach out to me and say, hey, do you sell these? And I thought, you're asking the girl that just made a wreath for the first time? Yes,
of course.
Of course I do. I don't know, how to make them, and I'm learning, but of course I do. Long story short, within 6 months, I had sold enough wreaths to fund my book and my book journey and my book business.
Wow.
It has evolved and been a 2.5-year old business today. Within that time, I have made, sold, and or taught people to make over 1,000 wreaths, and they've extended all across the country. I share this to say it was really important for me early on to decide what was the want and what was the need. The reality is you can buy a wreath at your local craft store. You can buy a wreath at Target. You can buy a wreath anywhere. What made me different? First thing is it was a cause. It was something people could get behind. Every wreath that somebody bought, I let them know what they were helping me accomplish. So it was also a strong marketing strategy because I kept emails. And when my book came out, I was able to email the people about it.
Yeah.
Secondly, it was really, really, really important that I paused about a month in. So I started making burlap wreaths. I loved burlap. I love the smell of them. I love the forgiveness of them, right? I love the farmhouse look, all that stuff. But about a month in, someone goes, do you make any other kind of wreaths? And at first I said, no, burlap's my specialty. So I said, okay. I didn't get that customer. And about a month later, a coworker of mine goes, I'm not a burlap girl. Like where I live, those aren't a big deal. But I really would like a boxwood wreath. Have you ever made one? I go, no, but will you take a chance on me and let me make you one? She said, absolutely. So I went to the store and I did some digging and did some research and focused on quality and focused on my story and connected it all and made my first boxwood wreath, which ended up being my #1 best-selling wreath over the last 2 years. It opened the doors to everything. But that was a turning point in my business. And this is what's important to you as you think about your business today. What you're doing right now may be something you loved. I hated any other type of wreath in the beginning except burlap. And if I only focused on what I liked, the likelihood is I wouldn't be able to sit here and tell you that the wreath business was that successful.
Yeah.
Instead, I evolved it by listening to the needs of the people around me. They needed something that was more durable because burlap faded and over time kind of got droopy. So I found products in integrating high quality florals to ensure durability and that they wouldn't have the same issues. And I was able to listen to my customers' needs and adapt my business accordingly. I think that's what all of us have to do if we want to continue our entrepreneurial life. You need to pause. listen to your customers, and you need to see what is it that they need. What do they need today? How can you adapt your business to meet what they need today? And then you might potentially create a lifelong relationship with that one person.
What a wonderful lesson. And again, I love your stories that go with it. So
Thank you.
let me check the time. We're getting close to our time limit, and Stephanie's a mom who has kids who need to be picked up. I want to say one thing that you said that really struck home for me, and that was what I took from what you said, Stephanie, was that we all are in love with what we do. We are passionate about it.
Yep.
And not everybody shares that same passion. What we need as business owners is people who are going to be honest with us. And one of the first books I read as I went on my business journey, and if you haven't read some of his stuff, Stephanie, and all of you who are with us today, Jim Collins. And Jim wrote the book Good to Great,
Yep.
and Built
Yep.
to Last,
Yep.
and several others. But one of the things he says is that you have to face the brutal facts of reality. And that's really tough for us. It's like somebody criticizing your baby. And this business is your baby, but you need to hear the honest truth.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, no, not sometimes, all the time, that's tough to hear somebody say, I don't think this is right. You need to do this instead, and it will work better. Absolutely. And that's what you did for me. You gave me the brutal facts of reality, saying, Jackee, you need to focus more on needs rather than wants.
Absolutely. I think it all stems down to, what do you want your business to do? Is it a passion project of yours that you just feel called to do? If that's the case, run with it. But if you want it to be a sustainable business, something that can continue, something that can grow, you have to get outside of you. You have to have that passion and realize that you are what makes your business unique. But you have to listen. You have to realize who your audience is, or learn who it is, do research around them, and figure out what have they set aside as a priority in their life, and how can you fill that gap?
Amen, sister. So I think we're going to wrap it up, because you need to get on the road to get the kids. So please let me know if this was something of value, and go visit Stephanie's site. The link again is up at the top, and check out my course. The gate is now open. So Stephanie, it was as wonderful as I thought you were going to be. You did not disappoint. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
And thank you all for joining us here today. We'll see you again on my live next Thursday at 2:00. So we'll sign off for now. Bye.